Hey, we're live. Nice. Okay. What's up with me? Isn't that quiet? I could do like ASMR. ASMR Beowulf. What? Erwin Jardine. Oh no, we've got people. Okay, I need to be normal. Hello, hello. Come on in. 21. Wow, you guys came in quick. Let me share this link to Facebook so people can join us. We're live. How is everyone doing on this fine Friday night? It's fairly kind of Norsey, but maybe that makes me look more hipster, or Mjolnir's hipster too. I'm pumping iron, but I'm gonna rock out. Nice to Hilbert instead of Rage of the Machine. Nice, nice. Oh, I need to get back in the gym, lads. It's been a while, unfortunately. Cambridge, man, keeps you busy. Keeps you busy. Hello, Hunk. But I didn't realize that this had become such a meme in the last live stream until one of my flatmates pointed it out to me, which was interesting. Yeah. Greetings from Spain. Hola, ¿cómo estás? What are you talking about? I was doing ASMR Beowulf before everyone showed up. Low-key Cambridge flex. I know it would be a flex if I'm not physically exhausted. I'm ready to go home. Can you see the bags under my eyes? I handed in my coursework this morning. Coursework had to be handed in at 12, handed in at 11:58. Incredibly organized. Hello, Commodus. Hello, my Australian friends, and hello, Julie from Colorado. I'm not doing too bad. I'm a bit tired. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, yeah. It is a Frisian flag in the background. Friesland Bopper. I have two flags there. I also have a Northumbrian flag on top of my case. That's there. I also have a Dutch flag back home too. Hi from Somerset. Hello, Oliver. Greetings from Groningen. Double greetings from Spain. Muchas gracias, Rafa. Are you wait? Are you going to the Cambridge ASNAC Masterclass tomorrow? Thought I'd let you know. Oh, that's awesome, Xander. Oh, that's really cool. So are you in Cambridge tomorrow then? Let me know if you're still around tomorrow night because my college is having a huge party. It's Great Gatsby themed. So if you want, I can try and sneak you in on that. It'll be very much fun if you're up for that. If you're around, just let me know. Just literally let me know because if you're in Cambridge, it would be great to meet you. I mean, I'm going to be out tomorrow night anyway. Also, that if you are in Cambridgeshire, there's a Viking market on in St Ives tomorrow, so I will be going to that and getting some bling. Some Viking Age bling because I didn't get enough from York because I was in York as well. I'm not sure if many of you guys were in York, but hello from the Black Country. Greetings from Lithuania. Hello from Thailand. Wow, we have a lot of people from different places. Do you support any Dutch football clubs? Okay, so this is going to get me a lot of hate, but I nominatively support Feyenoord, so the club from Rotterdam. Which is mostly to annoy my dad and my brother because I'm the youngest child. So of course I had to be special because they're both Ajax supporters. So they're from Amsterdam. The Ajax are. Feyenoord is from Rotterdam. It's actually Rotterdam, as they say there. But my cousins are from Rotterdam. So I kind of went with my cousins. And so I became a Feyenoord supporter. Oh, dia goed. Dias morgen. Hello from Nasna Riera. Thank you very much for the donation there, the seventh candidate, and for the beautiful Irish. I was at the Edinburgh Language event last weekend, and it was great to see so many speakers of the Kenyan. Je ziet er ook echt uit als een Fries. Schaatsen eronder en I mean, I don't know. A lot of people are like, you don't really look Dutch or Frisian with the dark hair and the dark eyes. But I mean, it's the kind of stereotypical Dutchman is like long, thin, blonde, I guess. But your thoughts on coronavirus? I mean, what kind of thoughts am I meant to have on coronavirus? It's a horrible virus that's spreading around the planet. I hope we can do something about it soon. And stay safe. Use hand sanitizer. Don't sneeze on people, please. Yeah. My English is very good. That's not, that I read that in my dad's voice to be in my comments. It's a very recognizable username, to say the least. Will I ever have a meetup in Holland in the provinces? Absolutely, absolutely. I just need to plan it. Basically, next time I'm over, it'll probably be in the summer. Um, I know you're a metal fan, Black Templar, so we should definitely meet up at some point and go to a gig. I think that'd be really fun. I'm planning to go to, oh, what's it called? It's not Castle Fest. It's a different one. But Baldur's Draumar, the Frisian metal band that I've talked about before, invited me out to go and see some of their stuff over the summer. So that would be really cool. Do I have a favorite saint? Probably Saint Aidan. I think he's really chill. He has a lot. Well, what was termed Celtic Christianity. It's probably not all that different to Roman Christianity. Is the modern thinking. Um, but yeah, he's pretty chill. Lots of stories about birds and things that he did there. Yes, I do have Frisian heritage, and Frisian is sort of seen as the closest language to English. Whether that's the thing, it's something I talked about last week as well, is that we maybe need to move away from doing the whole kind of family tree of languages, because in a way languages are like biology and families and things like that. But people change quite a lot, so you can have, you might end up being a lot more like your best friend than your brother, despite being biologically related to your brother. I think that's a good way to look at language as well. um, Specifically, this was about Gaelic and Pictish, and how Pictish disappears, whereas it might just have morphed, if that makes sense. But I'll not get too wacky and theoretical here. That should be uploaded as well, the video of my my lecture in Edinburgh, so I'll try and upload that. But anyway, Alfred, thank you very much for your donation again. Any update on when you'll release your new channel, Gaming with Hilbert? Saludos desde Costa Rica. Muchas gracias. Y no sé cuándo. Yeah, I did do a fair bit of gaming when I had the time, but sort of summer I should have some time. I'll do some Mountain Blade and perhaps some Skyrim. I was looking into trying to get a sponsorship deal with a computer company, because then I can get a decent PC, so I'll be able to maybe stream, and that could be really fun. Talk about history while I'm playing the games and things like that. But yeah. Are you just language interested, or are DNA evidence also interested? Yeah, I like looking at DNA as well. I think it's a lot of the time with the Dark Ages, with the early medieval period that I study, it's we don't have loads of written sources. So sort of if you look at Winston Churchill, if you want to study him, you can literally find out everything he did from the moment he woke up to the minute he went to bed, and every letter to Asquith and all of this. But for someone like Alfred the Great is actually a bit of someone we have a lot more information about. But for a lot of these historical figures and events, we have very little. We have several lines in like language, archaeology, things like this, to build up a broader picture, which also makes it exciting, because then one discovery can change what we think we know about a period in a way that isn't really possible as much for later periods. Am I coming to Ashby? Probably not, just because I'll be moving out of my university accommodation. I mean, I'm getting kicked out on the 15th, so it's going to be a bit of a hassle to go to Ashby. I'll be in St Ives tomorrow for the reenactment there. And what other reenactment things will I be doing in the near future? I might be at Sherwood Pines, but then I might be in the Netherlands at that point, because I know the same weekend there's a little monument, a memorial being put up for a family member of mine who died in the Second World War in Amsterdam. So I think I might be there for that instead. Do I have any English heritage or only Dutch? I mean, biologically speaking, no. Biologically speaking, family from the Netherlands, some from Germany. But obviously, I grew up here. I was born in England as well. So yeah, I have a lived experience here, which has been fun. I have a lot of English friends, and a Northern English accent that apparently is very, very subtle, the Northern English accent. Although everyone in Edinburgh could tell I was from the Newcastle area, because apparently I do tone it down for videos. But once I start speaking to certain people, it goes. Which is another interesting thing about language, is how you change your language depending on which audience you're in, which situation you're in. Code switching, which is really interesting. Can you speak any Swedish? Hardly any. I can understand a bit of Swedish, especially when it's written down, even spoken, because I did a little bit of Norwegian, but I haven't done it in a while, so I'd need to warm up again. Oh, thank you very much, Todd. That's very sweet of you to say that I've brought your love of history to a new level. I'm very glad I could do that. Am I Indian? No, no, I'm not Indian. I've been to India. It's beautiful, but I'm not Indian. I sound like a BBC announcer. Is that a good thing? Ah, Thijs says Agoye. Agoye Thijs. Hoe geht my die? Are you interested in that cross the Baltic is very interesting. Because you have the Danes, they ally themselves with the Wends, which is a people sort of the Slavs lived a lot further west in the Viking Age than they do now. So if you went south of Denmark, actually, it's because of the Franks that they implanted the Slavs there, but there were Slavic peoples living just south of Denmark. So what's now northern Germany was Slavic. All parts of it were, not all of northern Germany was Slavic. But yeah, you have this alliance between the Danes and the Wends because the Wends lived slightly further east, whereas there was another Slavic group that lived west of the Wends, so just under Denmark, allied to the Franks, who would fight against the Danes. No, I forget what they're called. The Oberdrites. They're called the Oberdrites. And so the Danes ally with the Wends against the Oberdrites. But then you've also got the people that live further east of the Wends, the Poles. They then ally with the Swedes because the Swedes are enemies of the Danes. So you've got this really interesting network. And actually, a lot of the really Scandinavian rulers that we see, like Knut, for example, his mother was Polish. Hold on, have I said that wrong? She's either Polish or Wendish, but essentially Knut turns out to be sort of half Slavic. Which is really interesting because it's a sort of a dimension that we don't really think of too much when we think of the Viking Age in the West, at least, is that there's this whole interplay with the East as well in Northeast Europe, which is really cool. But yeah, apart from that, I don't know too much Slavic history. I recently watched someone watched Baz battles. I really like watching Baz battles, like when I'm cooking or doing something like that. Yeah, but I watched his video on the Battle of Lake Peipus with was it the Principality or technically a Duchy of Novgorod. But yeah, why am I so dummy thick? I like the fact you've used the thorn there. That's pretty cool. I saw my pictures on Insta, looked so cool. Thank you very much. Is that actually how you found the channel? Just by accident on Instagram, or were you a fan of the channel first and then went to Instagram? Interesting. Thank you very much, Knaller Mark. Baz battles, yeah, I do like Baz battles. Yeah, the Rus are very, very interesting as well. They're mostly Swedes that went eastwards. It's a potential reason why the westward Viking Age happens is because in the east, they already in the 8th century, so the 700s, they're already going down the grade. But remember that trading is a spectrum from being on completely equal footing and exchanging money to showing up with 30 big, mostly Scandinavian guys with weapons and going, yes, we're going to trade. You can see trading and raiding is on a spectrum. So they get a lot of silver, and we start to see deposits of silver holes on Gotland and in on the Swedish mainland in certain areas. And this happens before we get the westward push. So it's possible that the Danes and the Norwegians, they saw what was happening in Sweden, and they were like, how come Olaf has got this really nice silver neck ring and is wearing all this bling? I want in on this. And they were like, well, where are we going to get it? The monasteries. So that's a possible factor for the start of the Viking Age, or it's one possible factor for the Western expansion as well. From Söllring, it's one of the islands. So the island's called Sultan, and the language is Söllring, the Frisian there. And so I'm going to be working on a video on North Frisian as well, because even though I say I'm a Frisian speaker, when we say Frisian in English, we mostly mean Westfriesland. So that region of that flag, but there are other Frisian regions as well in Germany now. So you've got Saterland, which is one area in Ostfriesland, so East Friesland, and you've got North Friesland as well. There's a really nice. Let me find this. If you're interested to hear what this sounds like, you can find lots of examples of West Frisian Baldur's Drama, for instance, if you wanna hear any music. They also do acoustic stuff, so if you're not that fond of the metal, you can always check that out to get a grasp of what the language sounds like when it's not, in a metal voicing. Even though I think it sounds really cool when it's in a metal voicing, but then I'm a metalhead, so. Um, but there's a German artist called Norma, who is from Föhr, I think, which is another one of the islands, the North Frisian. Um, oh yeah, and I should clarify, as Black Templar says, is that West Frisian in English has a different meaning to West Frisian in Dutch. So if you say West, understand West Friesland to mean the province of Friesland in Dutch, because it's to the west of the other Frisian speaking areas. But there is a difference there, which is what Dutch people always pick up on. But yeah, you're right. But in an English context, that's what we mean. American history as well. I think I'm looking a lot at this because this period of the early Middle Ages is what I study. But I do like colonial history. I've finished a video on the French in Canada, but I still need to actually record it. I haven't recorded it yet. Waarom is er een Friese vlag? Omdat ik, mijn voorouders zijn Fries. En ik spreek Fries. En ik heet ook Hilbert. Dus het is wel logisch waarom ik een Friese vlag heb. Ik heb er ook 2. Upload the vlogs from Romania when I was there, which was absolutely great. Oichma, that's good night. Mohara. My Irish is not good enough to understand the rest, but yeah. Good Margaret. Okay, let's see. What do you think of America ceding territory back to the natives? It's a complex issue. It depends what you mean ceding back to the natives, really, because a lot of the time there's like differences between the representatives of the tribes and actually them getting land back to the majority of the native population. Which has been a big issue. It's one of the main issues for the uprising in, was it 1969 at Wounded Knee? That was one of the big issues, is that the kind of head of the tribe that works with the government, that gets government money, that money then doesn't disseminate out to the actual population, but they like plug it into very corrupt officials. So it's something to consider. Yeah. It's a very complex issue, to be honest. Oké, waarom praat ons nou? Ik praat over Indianen in Amerika. That was my attempt at Afrikaans. Each century friends and some hundreds. And it's probably been asked already. I'll ask it again, just in case. Are you planning on making videos on the Rus? Yes, I am. I'm recently had the lecture series on the Rus, so now I've got some more interesting angles from which to look at the Rus, as I was already saying. And so I wanted to wait with making videos about the Rus until I'd had that lecture series, because then I really like going to the lectures because these are the world's experts on the Viking Age that I'm having these lectures with. So yeah, I feel more equipped to make the videos now. I mean, I could have gone right ahead and done it, but I like to get a good understanding of a topic before I make one, and because I have made videos before without having a good understanding of the topic, and I've made mistakes because I'm not that aware. And I honestly feel like it's better to make a video on something that you know about, especially if I'm coming at it from the perspective or the point of view of someone who knows about it. Yeah. Lol, is this Hilbert? Yep, this is me. Not a paid actor. Finally, the Rus, wondering where they were. I mean, even the name Rus, like that's a video in itself. Like there's so many potential etymologies of that. I really like the theory that was like it's from red because loads of them had red hair, which might, there was also the whole linking of the genome of red hair with the Norse coming to the Hebrides and areas of Scotland and Ireland. So the whole Celtic redhead thing would actually be a Scandinavian redhead thing. But yeah, that's probably not the case. It's probably from like rua, the Finnish word for rowers, because they would be rowing, and they'd probably be the only people that were rowing in that area. Because actually rowing down the rivers of the east doesn't really make much sense, because there's lots of land between bits of it. There's rapids. Yeah, it's not the most sensible idea, but they went and did it anyway, and they got all the way through to the Black Sea. It's pretty cool, and then eventually the Caspian Sea as well. It's really interesting, actually. There's even Vikings on camels that go across initially. It's just a whack story. It's just absolutely whack. They eventually come to all the way to Baghdad as well. They kind of cut out all the middlemen. You've got, of course, the Varangians and Byzantine Empire. It's a great story. It's such an adventure. But yeah, Gales had red hair long before the Vikings came. I mean, they might have, but how would we know? This is another thing. Like, how would we know? Because unfortunately, they didn't go around taking pictures of each other. We could potentially get it from Roman sources, but then again, it's difficult to rely on just a few sources. Do I watch PewDiePie? Yeah, I've seen some PewDiePie videos on occasion. I wouldn't say I'm a regular viewer of his stuff, but then again, I don't really regularly watch too much. Oh, did someone? Oh, in Happy, my friend, are you planning to do something on the North in Greenland? Yes, I am. I have. In fact, I think it's still open. Yeah, it is. I've got open on my computer right now the video called "Did Cows Doom Norse Greenland?" So there you go. You have that to look forward to. So I'll definitely be talking about North Greenland. Yes. I also really like the story of North Greenland. I really like recently, obviously, been learning about the Vikings going eastwards, but also the Norse expansion to the west. I've talked about a little bit on my channel actually before. So if you're fairly new, then potentially check through the older videos because I've got stuff about Iceland, Greenland, comparison of the two, Finland as well, going to mainland North America. But yeah, Eric the Red. When we do 18th century, like I know bits and pieces of 18th century, but the video on French Canada will have a bit of 18th century because it's French and Indian wars and things like that. And I also talk about the Jacobites sometimes. Those are kind of my inroads into the 18th century. But apart from that, I don't really know too much about the 18th century. So yeah, hello from Slovakia. Is it Dobry Dan? I think that's Slovakian, if I can remember. My college daughter is Slovakian. You guys have some really great, like, it's like a gingery alcohol. I remember because there's an Eastern European party that happens in Cambridge, and despite not being Eastern European, my girlfriend's Polish, and I went to Romania last year, so I have a few Romanian friends here. So I went along as a Polish-Romanian hybrid for the night, pretending to speak both of the languages very poorly, but it was great fun. But I tried some of that. My college daughter got me some of this Slovakian alcohol, and it was fiery stuff. It was like gingery, but it was really nice. It was great. Hair trim, yeah, I did. I got the old trim for York. I thought I'd get the old Viking undercut thing, which they may or may not have had. Yeah, that's true. That's true. The Polish might take offense. It's funny because I always get told off for saying Eastern European rather than Central European, and I guess like on a map it kind of makes sense. But I always just thought Eastern European. To be honest, I was like, they're in the East. It's like that whole story of like I watched I think it was Great Courses Plus series on it might have been the history of Poland, or it might have just been the history of Eastern Europe. And it's like a guy from Paris, the train stops in Warsaw, and he gets out and goes, now I'm in the East. And a guy from Russia comes and gets out in Warsaw and goes, now I'm in the West. So I guess it does kind of make sense. Actually, it just depends on your perspective, where you're coming from. Hertog Jan beer. Yeah, that's true. I still think Dutch beer is the best. Like I'm prone to Amstel though. I do quite like Amstel. Yeah, a good Berenburg as well. But yeah. What's my favorite place in history outside Europe? As in like period or specifically a place? Recently I went to a very interesting lecture on West Africa. And the trade lanes that connected them and glass bead making. A guy at the forefront there. Really interesting. So I might look into that. I also like a lot of Native American history. I went to a swap a few nights ago, where I met a lot of people who are studying archaeology and talked to several of the lasses there, and they were studying Native American stuff. They'd been on digs in Belize, looking at Mayan archaeology, as well as one of them looking at cultural contact between more northern Native American groups and Europeans. So I think I'm actually going to be getting in touch with her next week to try and film something there, because I think it'd be nice to get some more perspectives on the channel as well, because there's a huge wisdom. I'm not using my pop filter, am I? Let me rectify that. But yeah, as a child, I really liked Native American history. So I did a lot of reading. I had a lot of books on that, and yeah, I was a big fan of that. So those are some examples. I mean, I've done videos on South African history before. I know a bit about that. I find that quite interesting. Yeah. Okay. Does anyone else have any more questions? Do a video on Irish. Yeah, so I've got a video on Irish and Scots Gaelic. And the debate about the Leinster dialect. Oh yeah, because there's the whole debate about the Leinster dialects are sort of around the area of Dublin, and if they're kind of bringing that back, and if they're doing that in an accurate way. There was a really interesting talk I went to actually by Christopher Lewin, I think he's called. He's a native Manx speaker. I say a native Manx speaker. Obviously, he learned Manx as a second language, but he's now teaching his son Manx as a first language, which is really cool. But he gave an interesting talk at the Edinburgh Language event about Manx and about bringing it back, and about if a language ever really dies, and then if you can ever really bring it back in the same way as it being a native language, which was really interesting. But yeah. Gegroet stadhouder Hilbert. Dankjewel. Do you think the Frisians of today are descendants of the old Frisi the Romans wrote about? I mean, I think a lot of people in the Netherlands are, yeah. I think if you look archaeologically speaking, there's a move from the Terep culture that exists in the time of the Romans inland. We know this coincides with flooding and climate change as well at the time. And then the material culture that comes in later. So the Frisians of the Anglo-Saxon period, let's say, they come in from the north, so from Scandinavia. Around the 5th century, I think. You see the Terep and these months they used to live on, you see the material culture changes, becomes Germanic. But I don't think it's a case of wipeout. I think it's what it seems from what I've read, at least, that there's definite intermingling likely, and probably that's why they also get the name. A good comparison of that is if you look at a lot of the names of the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms. So Kent, for one, is from Cantwaru, which is an old Celtic kingdom. Northumbria, in both cases, the two sub-kingdoms there, Bernicia and Deira. Well, Deira, it's like Derry in or London Derry, let's say both, to not be too political, but from Doir, which is sort of a Proto-Celtic word that has several possible meanings, and Bernicia is from Brunei, which is also a Celtic word. So it seems potentially that this indicates a model of immigrants coming over, taking over the social structures, taking over the upper echelon. It can't be. So I think that's the case with the Frisians. But of course, remember that if we're talking about Frisians, as I often talk about Frisians, we're talking about people in that period. So that's over, a large, pretty much all of the Dutch coastline, bit of Belgium, bit of Germany, right the way up to kind of modern Denmark in certain areas. But that's actually later migration into North Frisia, but I'll not get too complicated there. Dank je voor die goede video's. Baie dankie voor die donatie. Ik weet niet, zeker niet, is dat die Afrikaanse woord of niet? Die donatie? Maar baie dank leren. Als je geïnteresseerd bent in het Ottomaanse Rijk, dan moet je naar een kanaal kijken. Dat heet, even nadenken, Hikma History. Die heeft heel veel filmpjes gemaakt over, zeg maar, islamitische geschiedenis. En ook heel veel over de Ottomanen. Dat is echt de moeite waard. Dat is een hele aardige kerel die het moet. En die heet Tarek. Maar ja, Hikma History. Ik zal het even opzoeken. Dan zal ik even een linkje sturen. Basically, if you're interested in learning about the Ottoman Empire, I don't have too many videos about the Ottomans myself, but if you are interested, then there's a channel called Hikma History that's run by a friend of mine. We actually did a collaboration. We've been in several collaborations together. So one that I did with him was I did How Did Vikings and Muslims Meet? At the Impaler. Have I read Bernard Cornwell's books, Uhtred of Bebbanburg? Yes, I have. I absolutely love the Last Kingdom books and the series. I've talked about that a few times on the channel here. Yeah, I really like them. They're really cool. I'd highly recommend them. I mean, yeah, Magni. There's a lot of issues with that theory. I thought it was a cool theory, to be honest. But yeah, you're right. The proportion is higher in Ireland and Scotland than it is in Scandinavia. Um, how is Schiphol? Yeah, Schiphol. The ch in Dutch is a ch, so Schiphol is a ship. So it's ship hell because it used to be underwater and it was a very rocky area of the coast. So a lot of ships were shipwrecked there. So it's a ship hell. Yeah. Why am I a hipster, Abel? What did I do? Oh, Epic and Link. Yeah, a moment. I see he's most recently done a video on the Mezquita, so I'm guessing that's in Andaluz. Oh yeah, he's also got one on Alhambra. What's the difference between ch and ch in Dutch? I mean, they're both pronounced ch in Dutch. The ch you see after letters and at the end of words. So like Schiphol, for example, or like Schravenhaven, or something like that. Or Loch. But the ch is like at the start of words. I mean, you can have it after a word as well, to be honest. But yeah. What's interesting though is in Frisian, if you've got an initial, it becomes a g. So that's why Frisian often sounds softer than Dutch. So like in Dutch, the word good is goed, whereas in Frisian it's good. So it's easier for English people to understand. But yeah. Do I have an academic degree in history? So no, I'm in my second year at the moment, studying Anglo-Saxon, Norse, and Celtic. So it's similar to history. We do the history papers that I do for that. I did last year Gaelic history, looking at Scotland, and this year I'm doing Anglo-Saxon history and also Scandinavian history. Vikings or Last Kingdom. I prefer the Last Kingdom, to be honest. The storyline kept me more involved. I think Vikings was a bit too whack in a lot of ways. The whole depiction of the Great Heathen Army it's something I'm doing a dissertation on, and it's just it's very out there. But maybe I just need to sit down and watch it at some point when I get time. Did the Norse in Greenland develop their own dialects? There is certain evidence for that, yes. Obviously, it doesn't exist anymore because they died out. But yeah, just as in, I mean, it would be unreasonable for it not to have developed because there was close contact with Iceland, but it wasn't that close. And naturally, this process seems to go faster on islands. So if you look at the language difference between North Frisian Islands, for example, you have crazy different dialects there. Would I study medieval Germany at any point? I mean, part of my degree looks at bits of medieval Germany, yeah. So a very important player in the period was the Archbishopric of Hamburg-Bremen. They were very important. And of course, the Franks there, they played a role, especially with Denmark. They tried to invade Denmark several times, with varying degrees of success. It's with English than Dutch does. Did Hiberno Vikings get wiped out by Irish, or were they absorbed? I mean, they were absorbed. I mean, the thing is, like, it depends on how you're defining Hiberno Norse, because it's hard enough to tell people apart by material culture when it comes out of the ground. These people probably switched to speaking Gaelic rather than Norse fairly early on, even though they had aspects of Norse culture and sometimes like Norse inspired names. So it's like, how do you even define it first, and then could you tell them apart from the other people there? One theory is that you might sort of buy into an identity rather than being born into one in this period, which might be the case with Hiberno Norse. So yeah, so they're absorbed rather than being wiped out just for the simple fact of, I mean, it's probably quite hard to find out who they are, or to define them in cast iron terms, and I don't think that's the case. Which is also why when you read in the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle that Ethelred in England in when did he do this? It's 1002, 1003. With the St. Brice Day massacre that he kills all the Danes in England. And it's like, well, at this point in the north and the east of the country, you're going to be wiping out most of the population that has some form of connection to Danish, be that in personal names, be it in dialect, be it in, actually being biologically part Dane, and also how would they know? So it's not like they go around and you can easily tell people apart because they've got blonde hair and they've got massive muscles. It's like, can't really tell. So it's probably actually relating to the army that came over, potentially part of Thorkel the Tall's army, who would come over from Scandinavia, because the actual Danes that had settled in the Danelaw settlement, the earliest ones that started to settle is like around 870. That's ages ago. So you wouldn't really be able to tell them apart at that point. But yeah. What about the Scythians? I honestly don't know much about the Scythians at all. I just like it. I heard about sort of scythe chariots. Are they related at all? Yeah, I honestly don't know too much about it. I should look into it more, but it's a bit too early for my period. See the Danes. For decades, Dublin was still ruled by Norse rulers, so it's not like the Battle of Clontarf destroyed the Vikings. In actual fact, you had Norse factions on both sides, both supporting Brian Boru and supporting his enemy, or his enemies, I should say. It's a really multifaceted alliance on both sides. Yeah. Want to do more in-depth videos on to make sense? A video about René Descartes and his theory, which I was at that time studying when I was still an A-level student studying philosophy and ethics. His theories of dualism and cogito ergo sum. But basically, Hinduism makes a lot more sense when you get the idea that in the West we take a lot on that theory, but in the East they're not so keen on it, or they have more complex theories. But anyway, I need to do that. What's my take on Richard III? I'm kind of like, I try and go for a radical centrist position on Richard III, which is an edgy thing to say, but let me explain. So you've got the kind of the traditional Tudory vibe, which is that he's basically just evil. He's like, probably some kind of creep who kills his nephews, and like, it's just an awful guy. Like, he's a hunchback and he's suspicious and he's reckless and he kills his brothers and all of this. And it's like, unlikely. Then you've got the other extreme, which are the Ricardians, which are like, he's basically Jesus incarnate. Like, he comes down, he sorts out all of England's troubles. He was a loving uncle, despite the fact that he took the throne and they mysteriously disappeared at the same time. Okay, keeping them safe in the tower, but no, he became king and became very wealthy as they were, in the tower. So it's clearly a power move. Whether he killed them or not, don't know. I mean, they could have got sick and died. Could have happened. The whole Ricardian idea is that he kept them alive, kept them safe in the tower, and then Henry VII came to the throne, found them, killed them, blamed it on Richard. I think that's very unlikely, to be honest. I think it's very, very unlikely. Is the video lagging? Oh, I'm sorry, chaps. I'm on college Wi-Fi, so it might be a bit. Should I close up my other tabs? I mean, I've only got 2 open, but I'll close them. It's lagging. Oh, sorry, I only just saw this. Is it stopped lagging? Is it okay? Is it better? I think it might have lagged. It's not lagging. Based Fries, geen Nederlandse vlag. Friesland independence. I have a Dutch flag at home, but I haven't got one in Cambridge. I have more Frisian flags, so I guess you can take that from what you will. You assumed it was your internet. I'll put it on 140p. I'm sorry, mejor. Gracias. Yeah, it's better now. Okay, awesome. I'm glad it's better. Did you all catch my little rant about Richard III, or I'm not saying that deck, but thank you. Something about early Romanians. I should potentially do something on Romanian history because I did look into that quite a lot when I was there as well. I found it very interesting, the whole interplay with the Vlachs and the Romanians. Um, and the Latin speakers, despite all these migratory groups coming in from the east. And then, of course, you've got the Hungarians that come in. They're hugely important, especially in Transylvania, even though the Romanians won't like me for saying it. They then bring the Saxons in because the Mongols kill a load of Hungarians, so they need Saxons from Germany to come and defend the borders. And it's a really interesting history. So I'll probably look at that. Of course, the Ottomans later on that come through and do their thing. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, lots of cheese, lots of dairy in the Netherlands. That's probably yeah, probably one of the reasons for. Mm. It's also because all the short people drowned. Someone's already commented it. There we go. All the tall people they saw the flood water come in and they just stood there, but the short people swept away. Yeah, it's very tragic. Ale, to be honest, whenever I'm back up north, I do go for a good ale. So I could potentially look into ales. Yeah, that might be something like alcoholic history. Yeah, or the history of alcohol, not the history of alcoholism in that way. Mm, is it lagging again? Oh, thank you for this very highbrow discussion, Jerry. Let me just mute you. There we go. Perfect. They should be hidden now. Any Cumbrians in the chat? Oh, Cumbrian was or Cumbric was something that I spoke about in my yeah, it was something that I spoke about in my talk in Edinburgh last weekend, which is also very interesting. How that was a language for a very long time around the area of the Clyde and then stretching south into the lowlands on the western coast of England. We're about to get someone on camera. One of my housemates is about to come in, or not, actually. But yeah, Cumbric, very interesting. Oh, nice to see you, Fire of Learning.
Wait, Hilbertception.
Oh no!
All
this
of the
is
Hilberts.
This is definitely not gonna help the lag issues, guys. But thanks.
Oh, nice.
Oh, there you go. I figured this was gonna happen. I didn't realize I had to lock my door for live streams, but there you go. Flatmates. Oh, it's great to see that the chat has descended, but hopefully this can um, add some distraction. Yeah, Kubrick is no longer spoken. It probably stopped being spoken. I think the latest speakers from parts of Scotland, some parts of Yorkshire, they still counted in Cumbric for a very long time. When counting sheep, so the shepherds were still doing it, which is really interesting. Yeah. Hagelslag is food for alphas. That's true. I do literally have hagelslag right there. Because I love hagelslag. My cousin came over and I was like, she said, "Would you like us to bring you anything?" And I was like, "Well, you know what, hagelslag would be absolutely great." Why don't you fold them? No, I like speaker did die in 1970 something. But there's a big movement getting it back on track, and a lot of kids are getting involved in learning it, which is pretty good. Yeah, there was an interesting talk about it by Christopher Lewin. All of these talks that I'm mentioning, by the way, from last weekend, should all be online at some point. So I'll be able to put links to that on the Facebook page, and I'll try and upload actually my my talk as well. Oh, is it lagging again? It might be because everyone in my flat is watching the live stream. Like, I don't know why they could sit outside and listen if they wanted to, but yeah. Ironically, many immigrants have better grammar than you. I mean, I kind of am an immigrant, so that's okay. I'll take it. I'll take it. Do you plan on living in Friesland after your study? Potentially. I've not thought about where I'm going to be living yet. I'd quite like to see some of the world, move around, have some experiences while I'm still young and before I settle down with a family. So, yeah, I'll see what happens. I wouldn't be against living in Friesland, definitely. I think that'd be very cool. Yeah. Okay. Any more questions? Have you done a video on Edgar Atheling? I haven't haven't yet, but that's a whole interesting story as well. What happens with Edmund Ironside and his descendants, and how the whole 1066 situation kind of envelops. Then I'll probably do. I mentioned it in my the Manx language in my video on languages in Britain and Ireland. But I think it'd be good to look into Manx specifically, especially now that I've been to that talk. That was very interesting. Do I love James Charles? Not massively, to be honest. Like, he can do his own thing if he wants, but it's not really. Yeah, it's not really my kind of video. Not gonna lie, I don't think I've ever seen any of his videos, to be honest. Is it still buffering, or is it okay? I think it's still buffering. Am I Dutch or not? I mean, yeah, my parents are Dutch. We can eindelijk je hoofd zien. Wait, could you not see my head before? The situation hasn't changed. Still buffering. Oh, that's annoying. I don't know why the internet's so bad tonight, lads. Apologies. How much do you know about the non-Frisian provinces of the Netherlands, namely Limburg? I went to Limburg on holiday once. It was nice. I also really like the dialect down there. It's very thick. It's very thick. It's pretty cool though. Yeah. My grandmother who's Dutch. Apparently it's me with the lag, which I apologize for. I don't know what it is. I mean, yeah, I'm just on the college Wi-Fi, so Hilbert for Audrey. Thank you. The Von Tossels, yeah, that'll be a Dutch one. What dialect of English is best? I mean, I'm biased, and I'd go for the Northumbrian dialect. I very much enjoy. I very much like, but I think everyone's kind of biased, and we'll go for their kind of dialect. Because I'm very busy with doing things here in Cambridge, unfortunately. So, yeah, I probably won't do that until then. I speak Colombian. I mean, I speak a bit of Spanish. If that's what you mean. West Cumbrian dialects. There is Magni. Do you watch Simon Roper by any chance? Because he does a lot on Cumbrian. It's very interesting. Although Cumbrian seems to have almost more Norse input rather than Cumbric input. Although I'm guessing it would have Cumbric input as well. I have been to Gelderland before, but I can't really remember, I'm afraid to say. Okay, someone very adamantly saying that I'm from Friesland, not from the Netherlands. I mean, I'm from both, really. So, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Oh, thank you very much. Shoes. I have wooden shoes. My clogs are in the corner. And I also have several like windmills. I have a Dutch tile with a windmill on. Why don't I show you? Here we go. Is that Dutch enough? My nice windmill tile. Yeah, the Kinderdijk is beautiful. And I also have a little Frisian windmill. I thought it's something else windmill related. Oh, yeah, just water. Taking it easy tonight. I had it in my coursework this morning, so I should probably be celebrating. But I might just get an early night. To be honest, it's when you know you're getting boring as a student when you're like, I'll take an early night rather than a night out. But yeah, your room is getting clogged by all the Dutch stuff. Yeah, potentially. Friesen caps are coming back. The Frisian caps or not Dutch enough. Looks like a meter of it. Yeah, I'm on the top floor as well, so I'm pretty high up, but it means you get a nice sunrise. Do you go punting? I have not been punting yet, Jessica. I know it's an absolute disgrace, but I've not yet been punting. I should have gone last year, but I'm fully planning on going punting this summer. Yeah, it's like the Cambridge thing to do, so I should definitely do it at some point. Yeah. Have I been to Hong Kong? I'd love to go to Hong Kong. I was planning to go this summer, but I probably won't end up going because the I was planning to teach English in Hong Kong for a little bit, but I don't think that's going to come through, unfortunately. So sad times. Right. Thank you very much, Theron. Thank you for coming. Thanks for your advice, Sam. I'll keep it in mind. It's Friday, drink, you nerd. That's true. Although in Cambridge, like the week, Cambridge calls it Cindy's, but that's the big night. If anyone's from Cambridge, you'll know that. Oh, thank you very much, Jessica. I'm glad you enjoyed the Picts videos. I recently spoke about the Picts in Edinburgh. So hopefully I'll have that video up soon because I have more information on the Picts and specifically their language. I mean, I'm biased towards Northumbria because I really like Northumberland, the moors, the hills, the woods, the rivers that go through them, the burns as we call them, up by Kiel there, the Cheviots, absolutely beautiful. But I also really like the Highlands in Scotland, Galloway as well, Dumfriesshire. I used to go there as a child quite a lot. Those are the areas that I know best that I like an awful lot. But so many parts of the UK. Gracias a ti para verlo, Lau. De nada, con placere. And from Scots Gaelic speakers, that's potentially the accent of switching language. It's actually a very interesting theory that I talked about. Well, I mean, not even in my talk, to be honest, but that someone spoke about, which is that actually when you get large scale language shift from one language to another, the accent then of that language has byproducts of the language that's spoken before. So if you hear the Breton language, a lot of the time people say, "Oh, it sounds British accent" when they switched over. So it might be the case. I don't know. I haven't looked into it enough. I haven't thought about that enough. But it was a very interesting theory, which I really really liked. So I think that there might be something in that actually. If you drill down into that theory a little bit there, yeah. I know Rafael. He does the Metatron channel. We actually used to talk a lot a few years ago. Really nice guy. Oh, the Zwarte Hope. That's Grete Pier's army. I got your first beer. Oh, thank you very much, Isaac. Thank you. Don't worry, I will be. There's a huge party happening at St. Catherine's College tomorrow. A bop. It's Great Gatsby themed, so I'll be dressing up as an early 20th century gentleman and going down to that. So I'll buy myself a beer with that. And thank you very much. That's much appreciated. Apologies if it's lagging again. I don't know why. Oh, that's really interesting. Nice guy. That gas or a word similar to it is used in some Australian dialects. It's cheesy. It may be from Dutch, potentially, yeah. Potentially from a Dutch connection. I mean, obviously the Dutch can follow me there. Who is this handsome guy? That would be you, spy. Just look in the mirror. You'll see what you've got. Where am I from? My parents are both Dutch, but I grew up in England. Oh, I hope you have a nice weekend as well, Goon. I don't really follow Dutch politics, I'm afraid. I probably should, but I have too much going on, I can barely keep up with sort of 7th century politics and later politics, let alone today. I find a coin at Lindisfarne. Yes, I did, and that's actually what I did my coursework about. So I'd really love to make something about that, that I can that I can share with you all, because there's potentially some very interesting conclusions and implications of this. Yeah. ASMR, man. I don't know. What would you want an ASMR reading of? I don't know. I don't know if my style goes well with ASMR. Did you know there is a Friesland Nationalist Party? Yeah, it's the FNP, is it? The Friese Nationalistische Partij, I think. I do know about them. One of my friends is a candidate in it, which is really cool. ASMR, the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle. That's going to be a lot of reading. That's going to be a lot of. I mean, actually, I've not got the Old English in front of me here, but this is a fitting one. So we have 991 here. Ealdorman Byrhtnoth was killed at Malden, and in the same year it was first decided that tax be paid to the Danish men because of the enormities which they wrought along the sea coast. That was at first £10,000. Archbishop Sieric decided on the decision. There you go. That's the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle being read for you in ASMR. I hope you have a nice evening, gentle George. But there you go. I'll stop now with that ASMR. Don't worry. I should do some Old English. I feel like it might be kind of difficult. Also, my desk is a mess because I've been doing coursework, so I just have lots of books with all this. Do I have to scratch the mic? Do you have to do like, and then you have to make loads of like mouth noises and stuff. You have stuff like that. Is that ASMR? I've not really watched much ASMR, I'm afraid. So I think I'd have to do my homework before I did more. You made us love the Dutch anthem. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I don't actually know all 15 verses. It's quite bad. It's quite bad. Yeah, I'll learn it at some point. Just breathe into the mic. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle in Gaelic, or Gaelic in Irish. As in, what do I think of the coronavirus? I mean, it's a virus. That's like, yeah. I don't know. I mean, if I wanted to do proper Old English ASMR, I would get this handy edition of, if you're interested in Anglo-Saxon poetry, by the way, A Choice of Anglo-Saxon Verse by Richard Hamer is a must. Because what you get, actually, this is the Battle of Malden. So the bit of the chronicle I just read from 991 recounts the Battle of Malden, where the ealdorman called Byrhtnoth, he's attested as giving land to church. So we know him from other attestations, which is really fun. He leads the men of Essex against the Vikings, but unfortunately he and all the Vikings are killed. But what makes that battle interesting, when we have loads of battles that are recorded around that time in about the same amount of detail, so I think, well, what's so special about that is that we have this whole poem called the Battle of Malden, which was written down about that, in which Byrhtnoth takes an active role. Now let me see. This is towards the end of the Battle of Malden, but anyway, in this book, in A Choice of Anglo-Saxon Verse, you've got the Old English on one page, and then you've got the Modern English on the next. So if you're wanting to learn Old English, it's really, really good to get. And there's a great speech in there, which Byrhtnoth reads to the Danes. I can read a little bit there. You hearst du, Celia, what this folk saith. He willeth eo to gavale, gara silan, a trina ord and eilda sword, the here ye to the eo at hilden eder. Brimman a boda, a beod efter ongean, seia thinum leorum michle ladre spell, that here stund unforkuth earl mit his werde, the wheela yelgan ethel thusne, ethredes erd, eldres mines folken foldan. So it's that's a bit of Old English. My pronunciation isn't perfect, but it's you can feel the power in the words, and basically the bit that I just read there is Byrhtnoth addressing the Vikings from across. There's a stream that goes between them called the Pantan. Basically, he's got the Vikings trapped on this little island in the middle of this stream in Essex, and so the Vikings are shouting across, and then Byrhtnoth is shouting back to this messenger, who the Viking messenger has just really rudely said to them, basically you need to come and give us tribute and then we'll go. But Buchnoth and the Anglo-Saxon army have them trapped on this island, so Buchnoth basically tells them to get Ben, essentially, but a lot more eloquently. So he says, "Do you hear, seamen, what this people say? They wish to give you naught but spears for tribute, like an army tax." But then basically that's funny because it's like, you're giving spears for tribute. It's an army tax. It's a very clever piece of writing that's here. Poisonous point and edge of tried old sword, war tax that will not help you in the fight. Go, Viking herald, answer back again, lord's land and people. But it's a great poem. If you haven't read the Battle of Malden, I'd highly recommend it. This version's really good. It's got lots of Old English poetry in there. It's got the Battle of Brunanburh in there, of course. Again, an attestation. It's got the Finnsburg episode from Beowulf. It's got a lot of the more elegiac poems. Wolf and Edwacker is a personal favorite of mine. As well as things like The Wife's Lament, Dale, several riddles, Cadman's Hymn, Bede's Death Song, The Dream of the Rood, The Wanderer, The Seafarer, some religious texts as well. So yeah, it's really cool. But anyway, I thought I'd read some Old English because people were asking for ASMR. But yeah. Hilbert, krijg ik je aandacht als ik in het Nederlands schrijf? Jawel. And then Roman culture, did they just assimilate into rural Celtic Britons, or were they killed off or fled to France? Well, the thing is, we don't really know. That's kind of a big question. Actually, what we find is if you plot the area of where you have villas in England, which is mostly the southeast, and then you plot on top of that a map of where we find the strongest evidence for Germanic material culture, it's almost identical, which is really interesting. It's really interesting. It's probably not a coincidence that either. And that there is evidence that indicates that it's largely a shift in material culture as well as an actual physical replacement of people. That probably didn't happen so much based on what we're finding in DNA in the graves in the cemeteries that seem to carry on rather than having a break and then new people come in. So yeah, it does depend. It does depend on where you're talking in England. Reading, I have St. Augustine reading. Have you been putting off? Oh, good luck with St. Augustine. I find him quite preachy, to be honest, St. Augustine. I'm guessing you're talking about of Hippo rather than the other Augustine, but yeah, good luck with Augustine. I think young Augustine would be a really cool guy to hang out with, but kind of older Augustine gets a little bit boring, in my opinion. No offense to any, Shad Brooks. Yeah, Shad Eversty. Really nice guy as well. Yeah. I watch these videos whenever I get the chance to, and I see one that interests me, to be honest. Apologies about the lag, guys. I'll cap it in 5 minutes. What was the author for the selection? It's Richard Hamer. So it's like hammer, but with one M. Richard Hamer. He was actually on both Old English, but more specifically Middle English, which is super interesting. Yeah, I do know the Frisian national anthem. I've heard it. Friesland Bopper. The lag is strong today. Yeah, it is. Must go. Cheers for the stream. Thanks very much, Magni. No problem. Have a nice evening. Were there black Vikings from other lands? Very unlikely that you'd get someone who we would describe as black being a Viking. I'm not going to say it never happened, but it's very unlikely. It's really unlikely. I think it'd be a similar level of likely as saying like how many white people were fighting in the Qing armies. Like probably none. They could have done hypothetically. What I think with black Vikings is that you get sort of reference to like Fin Du in Irish, and that's probably talking about the hair, not the skin color, because you also got the Fingal as well, like fair-haired foreigners, dark-haired foreigners. Probably a differentiation between people coming from Denmark, people coming from Norway, even before these were actual countries, which is something that a lot of people have said. It's like, why do you bother differentiating? Well, because there's important dialect and cultural differences that exist, which is why I normally do say, if a guy was from Sweden or from Norway or Denmark, even if these countries didn't exist yet as kingdoms, there are cultural differences, language differences that exist between them. And it's also just interesting to differentiate where they came from rather than just saying they came from Scandinavia, because Scandinavia is very big. Oh, thank you very much for the donation, Rob. Are the Welsh essentially the natives of Wales? I don't know too much about immigration into and out of Wales, but as far as I'm aware, there's immigration that comes obviously from the Anglo-Saxons that push. Potentially, if we believe Gildas, there's also from Britain, so Celtic peoples fleeing from the Anglo-Saxons, but not sure if there's too much evidence for that. And also we have Irish immigration that comes over from Ireland to various places. Also the Norse have several. Anglesey, I know they're around there. And then they move into certain areas in South Wales as well. There's a few enclaves, but nothing substantial as the Danelaw in English. Let's see. Yeah, so can you talk about the distinction between the modern Flemish and Dutch people? I mean, normally how it's defined today is that Dutch are people in the Netherlands and Flemish are people across the border in Belgium who speak Flemish. So the Dutch, I mean, either depending on whether you see it as a language or the dialect of Dutch that is spoken in Belgium. Flemish used to stretch right the way into France as well. So Calais is Calen, Boulogne is like Bonen, I think. And there's like loads of places up there that have Flemish as well as French names. And there used to be Flemish speakers there, but they, the French government, yeah. Wat voor werk heb je? Ja, ik ben een student, dus ik ben in mijn tweede jaar. Ik studeer Anglo-Saxon, Noors en Celtic. Maar ja, dus nou, dat is mijn werk. Vroeger was ik badmeester toen ik nog in het noorden van Engeland woonde. Maar dat ben ik niet meer, omdat ik nu in Cambridge zit. Dus ik kan het niet meer volhouden. Oh, thank you, El Chamba. Onmorgen. Nou, rechter. En dank u wel voor het komen. Oh yeah, Liège was Luik. Yeah, Dunkirk was Duinkerken. Yeah, I think we still call it Duinkerken. Hoeveel jaar moet je nog? I still have to do 1 year after the sea. What there is there. Oh, I'm really glad you enjoyed the Frisian Museum. Like, I was super impressed by the exhibition. I recorded an interview there afterwards, which I'm working on. I won't spoil why yet, but yeah, it was really fun. I really enjoyed going to het Fries Museum to see the exhibition. Jochen Waller, Rob, and would you say Nosta Joch? Oh yeah, I do actually have you're right, Golden Eagle. I do have a video on the Belgians and all the things that are going down there. Okay, I'm gonna answer like 2 more questions and then I'm gonna pop off and eat something and go to sleep. Have you ever been to het Woudemagemaal? I haven't actually. What is it, Thijs? Should Flanders join the Netherlands? A lot of Dutch people are kind of a fan of that idea, but from what I gather, loads of Flemings aren't. I do speak a bit of Frisian. It's a bit rusty, to be honest. I need to work on it. It's not one of my first languages, but I'm learning Frisian at the moment. I know I've never been to New York. I've not been to the East Coast of America. I went to the West Coast though, which is really good. Views on the university strike. I mean, I've not been on any picket lines myself, but I understand the grievances of the lecturers, and I think they do a really important job. And I think the way the university treats them isn't good. So I using Memrise because it's something I can do. It's something that's quick. It's easy. I can just do it in the morning before I get out of bed, and then when I'm brushing my teeth or something. I also like listening to music and talking to people who speak the language is one of my favorite things. And then that outside of then going to sort of going to the place where they speak the language. That's one of my favorite things to do, and then just trying it out, or just like whenever I hear a language around, in Cambridge, for example, the people who work at the bar are Spanish, so I always speak Spanish with them. It's just a way to practice. One of the librarians is Dutch, so I speak Dutch with her, and I always try and speak Polish when I meet Polish people out and about, or Romanians when I meet them. I just just give it a go. It's fun. Germans with Germans. So yeah, it's just like finding opportunities to practice. And Cambridge is a very multicultural city. Loads of tourists come to Cambridge, so there's always opportunity to practice. Where I am, at least, I do listen to Spanish music. I have a whole Spanish music playlist. I think it's called Reggaeton por los Muchachos. But yeah, I really like reggaeton. It's like if you're in a bad mood and you just need to do that. It's also really fun to dance to. It's like, yeah. So if you need to like crank up the hotness, then just put on some reggaeton, do a bit of dancing. It's very fun. Yeah, it's good. It's great. Which type? Like Daddy Yankee. What else? Yeah, I think they're probably my favorite artist. There's also a Mexican rapper I quite like called Sekan. J Balvin, yeah. I know him. Buenos días. ¿Qué tal, Marvin? ¿Estás bien? Opinion on non-Indo-European languages. I mean, they exist. Like, I've not learned any non-Indo-European languages ever, or tried to. I know a few words in Hungarian. That's about it, really. But I think it'd be really cool to learn a non-Indo-European language, because it's like we're really outside the box. I mean, but then again, me trying to learn Polish, like trying to get my head around Slavic, is like, I think I'm just going to try and teach myself the sound changes that Germanic and Slavic sort of went on their own path, because I find learn the sound changes, then you understand the differences. It's one of the things I did when I was in Romania. Is I spoke fairly good Spanish at that point, and so I looked at the sound changes that had occurred between Latin, and I knew the sound changes that occurred between Latin and Spanish. So I looked at the sound changes that had occurred from Latin and Romanian, and then kind of worked backwards. And I thought, well, if I know the Spanish word, I can kind of break down, and then usually you get to the Romanian word, because sound change is a very regular process until they borrow a Slavic word, and then you're completely lost. But yeah. You're also from Cambridge. Well, I study in Cambridge. I'm not really from Cambridge, but yeah. Oh, thank you very much for the donation there. Oh man. Okay, let me try and. Is it O'Donovan? O'Donovan Everson, I think. Is that correct for the Irish? But yeah. Heidevolk. Yeah, I really like Heidevolk, the band. Yeah, I'm live streaming on university internet, unfortunately. But yeah, Boulder's Drama, great band. Oh, lovely to have you here, Hayden. Donkey, my donkey for yeah. All right, I think I'm gonna head off, eat some food, and then go to sleep. I'm pretty tired, but thank you very much for all coming and watching. That's really kind of you all to come and join me. Oh, Dias Marachwit, Griffin. I know like a little bit of Afrikaans. Like one of my friends is dating an Afrikaner, so like I practice whenever I can, and I had a few good Afrikaner friends for several years. I can't really speak Afrikaans very well. Ik praat dat niet zo goed niet. Maar ik is Nederlands. Dat is niet zo moeilijk niet voor mij. Maar ja, dat is, het is baie gelijk. All right, everyone. Thank you very much. I hope you all have a really nice evening and have a nice weekend as well. But yeah, I'm going to call it for now. But thank you very much for joining me with this live stream, and I'll come back with another video. I'll probably have a video up on Wednesday, to be honest, because there was meant to be a video up tonight, but things didn't quite go the way they were meant to. But yeah. All right. Okay. Thanks for watching, everyone. I will see you soon. Have a nice weekend for me. Bye bye.